Hello, everyone, and happy Leap Day. My name is Bailey Grady, and I live in Hendersonville, Tennessee. I'll be your facilitator for the evening. I have been a member of Silk and Sonder since March of 2020, which means this month begins my fourth year as a Silk and Sonder subscriber. It is hard to fathom that that much time has already gone by. If you're new to this community, welcome. I am so excited for you to begin spending intentional time with yourself through the exploration that these journals bring. And if you're a longtime Sonder fam member like me, welcome back. You already know all the freshness and new opportunities that each new month, each new week, and even each new day can bring, and all the ways we support and uplift each other in this incredible community. So before we get started, make sure that you have your March edition. If it hasn't come yet, that is okay. Just grab any notebook or a few pieces of paper to take notes on, and you can just transfer your thoughts when the journal arrives. So be sure you have your favorite pens or markers, colored pencils, stickers, whatever it is that you like to get set up with, your favorite beverage, and get ready to just get cozy and settle in and carve out some me time. You will be connecting with each other in the chat this evening. So be sure that you have your responses set to everyone, that little blue box next to where you type in the chat. You just want to make sure that says everyone so that we can all see what you have to share. A lot of the times Zoom will default that to like host and panelists. And if it says that, only myself and Katie, who is my fabulous stage manager in the chat for this evening, all the way from Scotland, um, we will be the only ones that can see what you're writing if it says host and panelists. So if you want to share with the group, just make sure that it is set to everyone. We always love seeing all the ideas that you have and different ways we all connect with each other. So definitely make sure that you have that flipped to everyone. And speaking of the chat, so two things. So one, it can get busy sometimes, right? Like we love to like share back and forth and it can get moving really quickly. So if that starts to happen and you feel a little overwhelmed, you can always use the scroll bar to scroll up and just stop the chat temporarily and kind of read and catch up at your own speed. But also in general, you can always just participate at your own comfort here. So if you're somebody that wants to participate in the chat a lot, great. We love to see that. We think that's one of the best things about coming to socials in person and live is you do get that interaction in the chat with the community. But if you just want to focus in on your journal and kind of just leave the chat as is, or just read the chat but not actually participate, that is totally fine. If you're new, you'll notice that like you don't have to worry if your camera is on or if you're on or off mute. I'll be the only one that's actually on camera tonight. So you can always just come as you are and feel free to get comfy and participate at whatever level feels right for you. But we would love to see how you spend your social this evening. So also feel free to take some photos during or after the event tonight of you setting up your March edition. We'd love to see those posted in the Sonder Club app, or you can tag us on Instagram or TikTok at Silk and Sonder or hashtag Sonder Social. So as always, I want to go over our community guidelines before we dive in. So please be kind and courteous to yourself and others. No promotions or spam, please. Be sure that we're respecting everyone's privacy. No hate speech or bullying, of course. Please limit repetitive product and accessory questions. And for certain questions, Katie and myself may direct you over to the main HQ team over at Silk and Sonder at hello@silkandsonder.com. We don't have access to things like your address, your account, your subscription, like shipping, anything like that. So if there's something that we can't help you with, we'll refer you over to that awesome team over there. They are Monday through Friday, I think like 8 to 5, like Pacific time. So, just be patient, but they will get back to you. And then finally, Sonder Socials are a tool to help elevate your emotional health through the power of community, but you are responsible for your own emotions, well-being, and decisions. So like I said before, this is always going to be participate at your own comfort, and that includes emotionally as well. A lot of the times at our Sonder Socials, we're going to dive into some really good journal prompts and get in deep and share and all kinds of things. And sometimes it can bring up some emotions that may feel like a little crunchy, like maybe you're not quite ready to dive into that space yet, or, ooh, I'm surprised by this and it's coming up and I'm not sure if I'm ready to go there, right? And if that's the case, that is totally fine. As we move through, if there's something that you're not feeling like here's the correct time or space for you to be diving into right now, you can always just take a break, kick back, listen to the music, doodle, work on your coloring page, and then come back with us when we move on to the next thing. So here is a look at our agenda this evening. For each of these sections, we'll be giving some guidance around ways you might complete your pages and then putting on some music so you can take time to tackle them. So we'll be doing an opening activity together around our new theme of momentum, completing our February reflections, setting up our March intentions, setting up our mood and habit trackers, and of course, learning tips and tricks from each other while sharing in that chat. So our theme this month is momentum. And I'd like to start by sharing a part of Mayha's opening letter for the month on page 2. I always find this page to be my favorite starting point each month. It really helps to ground in the theme. If you haven't read it yet, I highly recommend taking a few moments to do so after our social. But I wanted to go ahead and call out the third paragraph because it really resonated with me. It reads, "At Silk and Sonder, we celebrate progress over perfection, understanding that it's the consistent momentum that truly drives success. It's not about making giant leaps, but rather taking small, intentional steps in the right direction. Like the sprouting seeds beneath the earth, our progress may not always be visible at first, but with the dedication and perseverance, it will flourish and bear fruit." I absolutely love this analogy of personal growth to the growth of a seed, because in addition to patience, care, love, and time, seeds also need the right support, the right season, and setting to grow and truly flourish. And we all need those same things. And I think it's really important to remember. So I'm actually going to say it again. In addition to patience, care, love, or most importantly for us, right, self-love, and time, we also need the right support. We need the right season of the year or in life, and the right setting to grow in certain areas of our lives and truly flourish. And I think it's also important to repeat this line, that it's not about making giant leaps, but rather taking those small, intentional steps in the right direction. So the definition of momentum can actually be found on page 3, and it reads, "The quantity of motion of a moving body measured as a product of its mass and velocity," which is very scientific, right, and direct. But I really like the secondary definition that I found from Merriam-Webster, which reads, "Strength or force gained by motion or by a series of events." Y'all, that's basically a habit. Because a series of events can be small moments of consistency, small steps forward each and every day. And that does not mean that if you have I don't know, say a point where you don't move forward or you feel like you're taking a step back, that that momentum is lost. It just means that the motion is paused and we can always begin again. As many of you know from previous socials I've hosted, I've been struggling with low energy again this winter. And it's been really hard to try to establish new routines and get going without the energy I need to start, especially after being stagnant for so long. But through different areas of tracking with my journal, I've really started to accept the fact that my energy levels are severely impacted by the lack of sunlight this time of year, and that January just really isn't a great time for me to jump into new resolutions and start new habits. In fact, January and February are actually really difficult times for me to try to do those things. So instead, I tried to focus on what I needed the most and tried to do small things to improve it, and that was rest. In the last few months, I've leaned into that by developing a new sleep routine, and that has been so helpful. And I want to carry that new routine into March with me and use the momentum I've felt from building that habit and taking better care of myself to propel me forward in more of my goals and intentions. Because if I could pick a month to start the new year, it would definitely be March. The days really start to feel longer again. And even if you live somewhere like me where we get full spring and third winter and all of those things, we still get a few more sunny days than not as we move into the beginnings of spring. So I'm thrilled to have this theme of momentum to move alongside me this month as I start my new year. And as we get set up for the month ahead tonight, I invite you to get curious about what really works for you right now in this moment of life and what areas you want to start taking those small steps in to create momentum towards those new habits and goals. Don't be afraid to try new things like the one thing space in the weekly page of your journal, which can help you build momentum into your day. You can always switch up things as needed to make the journal yours, because everything in these pages are just tools and suggestions, but the real magic happens when you put your pen to that paper. And that's exactly what we're going to do right now. put your pen to the paper of your journal, starting with our opening activity on this new theme of momentum. So for this activity, it's not going to be pre-printed in your journal. You're just going to want to flip to a blank page, a scratch pad, a blank space, something like that in your journal. If you're somebody that fills in every little tiny crevice and everything, that's amazing. Feel free to use like a different notebook or scratch pad or anything for this next activity. So what we're going to do is a momentum acrostic poem. And if you're not sure what that is, we'll have some examples in a minute. But we're going to think of some things that come to mind when you think of the word momentum. And don't second guess yourself, just write them down and then try to come up with at least 8 words or phrases that describe momentum and see how you can work it into a poem where the first letter of each line is a letter from the word momentum. You can do sentences, one word, sets of words, anything that works for you. So it would look something like this, where you would write out the word momentum, and then you're looking for either a word that reminds you of momentum that starts with each one of those letters to like form some sort of a poem. I think it's always really interesting if you just go with the route of words. Like sometimes it seems like the words are random, but then as you actually like put it together, it ends up being something. But you can also actually like use that as the first letter of a line. And you can also like just work them into various words as you go through. There's no like right or wrong way to do this. So here's some examples. One of these was found online and the other one Maya typed into like the little Google AI things and asked it to come up with an acrostic poem. So you've got like maybe I'm weak or not as quick, but my love for the art grows with each passing time. No matter how I fall, try to get up, unleash the courage within me and trust with my heart. And you can see it spells out momentum. But I do have other examples, including my own. So today is Leap Day. If you didn't know, we get a whole extra day this year, right? And so I thought if you're looking for a challenge, if you're somebody that really likes the acrostic and loves to lean into it, and you want to do a little bit extra, instead of just doing momentum, you could do leap into momentum and work that in if you'd like. But you do not have to do that. You can do just the momentum part. This is just if you're like me and you really like the acrostics and you want to get into it. And then, yes, Nathania, that little cartoon in the bottom right, I like to include this when we do things like acrostics. I want to be good at something, and then the little friend is saying, then be bad at it first, right? Like, don't overthink this. Don't put a lot of pressure on yourself. Just give it a try because you never know what you might come up with, and you may really be surprised by what you come out with there. And then I've got some more examples here. So these are actually from Sonder Club for the last few days from where we've been doing these weekly setups. And I'll be sure to go through all of these as we move through, and I put on music for you to look at them. This one in the center is a really good example of how you can still do this even if the letter isn't the first letter of the word. You can just come up with words and then find the letters that you need in the middle of the words. So all really great examples. So I am going to flip back through all of these slides for you as you're working. So if there was one that you really liked and you're like, oh no, it's gone, don't worry, I'll come back to it. But for now, I'm going to put on some music for you to work on your own poems. And if you feel comfortable sharing in the chat, we would love to see those. Okay. Thank you all so much for completing this opening activity. If you're not done yet, that is totally fine. You can continue to work on it. I know that Bridget mentioned that last month when we did an acrostic, they decided that they would kind of fill it in as the month went along to like just, let it progress naturally. And that sounds like a really cool idea. So if you're struggling to get it all the way done, that's okay. Maybe just come back to it as the month goes on and see what comes to you. But thank you all so much for being vulnerable and sharing with us tonight. We are now going to move into our main event, our monthly setup for March. And we're going to start with February reflections on page 8. So as this extra day of February brings the month to a close, we have the lovely ritual of starting fresh with our new edition by reflecting on what the last month has taught or brought us. And each theme is a chance to engage with a new part of ourselves and be open to the growth that this new exploration may bring. So again, just go ahead and turn to page 8 in your journal. And for the next few minutes, we're going to be taking time to reflect on February. So writing down wins, challenges, favorite moments, and what do we want to start, stop, and continue. And a quick reminder as we begin engaging with these journals, again, this journal is yours and yours alone, right? The magic happens when you put your pen to that paper. And this isn't for anyone else. So write freely, be honest, and interpret things however they speak to you. There's no right or wrong to do any of this. There's only your way, right? It's your pen, it's your journal. You're putting your unique touch into that paper. And that's all that matters. This is a space for you to be authentically you, no matter how messy or structured that may be. So use this space to be yourself as we say goodbye and thank you to February and move into March. So I tend to take my journal pretty literally in terms of prompts, focusing in on actual goals, events, and stumbles. But with last month's theme of confidence, you might like to focus your reflection specifically through that lens. Like maybe you want to think about what kind of wins and confidence you had or what challenges with confidence you had, right? And if you're having a hard time remembering last month, I know I have a hard time remembering what I had for lunch yesterday. So feel free to look back through your pictures in your phone or your calendar appointments because that may help like jog your memory. My February reflections are up on the screen here, along with a fun picture of myself and fellow facilitator Maya. One of my favorite moments this month was finally getting to meet Maya in person after we've been working together for almost 3 years. She gives the best hugs, I can confirm. It was actually really random. So I decided to go to Hot Springs, Arkansas for my birthday weekend, and Maya's mom just happens to live in Hot Springs, Arkansas. And for whatever reason, the same birthday I decided to go ended up being the same weekend that she decided to move her mom because they're moving her mom up to Colorado where she lives. And so it just really felt like kismet that we were really meant to like meet and get together that weekend. So we made it happen, and it was just the best. It was everything you would ever hope for. If you've ever had somebody you've worked with virtually or been friends with, just online that you've got to meet in real life, like it's just like a really special magical moment. And so it was really awesome. So I'm going to put on a good chunk of music for you to really sit and reflect here. And once you've filled out this section, please share in the chat what you came up for you, what you're comfortable sharing, what you wrote, and then take the time to read what others are sharing. And then we'll see you in a few minutes. Okay, welcome back. I wanted to share, so Georgie said that something that they do when they do their reflections is they actually look back through the previous month at their roses. So for those of you that are new, we do a reflection each week as a part of our weekly setup, and it's printed in the journal in the weekly pages called Rosebud Thorn. And a rose is usually like a win or a highlight of your week, something that went well, something that made you smile. And so Georgie said that they look back through those previous roses to kind of find what some of the wins and things were that they may have forgotten about. So I thought that was a great tip. And thank you all so much for sharing. We're now going to segue into our March intentions on page 9 of our journal. So we are starting fresh and thinking about how we want to grow or what our goals are for this upcoming month. Our intentions are broken down to the following categories, but feel free to change some of them if they don't speak to you. What's pre-printed in the journal is spiritual health, personal life, physical health, key relationships, money management, and professional goals. And as the top of that page says, setting intentions is not making a to-do list. It's asking something of yourself and then giving yourself the strength to do it. It's important to let go of that pressure of perfection and just use the ideas that work for you, right? Again, your pen onto that paper. So with this in mind, we wanted to share some examples for inspiration of how you might use this page for yourself. You can use that theme of momentum as you set up your intentions this month. You can focus on one area, such as self-love or self-talk. You can use the name of songs or song lyrics or a quote that brings you inspiration. And you can try looking at what you want to just accomplish in each category, maybe ways to like support an overall goal. And of course, stickers, pictures, images are always like a fun and quick way to like visualize what's ahead of you. You could also try writing one thing you want to let go of, or one thing you want to start doing. In the past, I have used all kinds of different ideas. I love using this page as an area to really get creative and have fun. So I've tried like picking a theme for pictures and leaning into the theme of the journal for the month for inspiration. I've also used like song lyrics or even just a single word to set my intentions. And don't worry, we'll go back through all of these as you're working on yours. Here are a few more examples, like how I like to change some of the categories if they don't work for you, and ways to set action along with your intentions. So like you can see that they changed instead of like career, they changed it over to learnings. And they've got all those other little different things there, like instead of personal life, they're doing creative life, and they changed money management to home and garden management. And then I also love these two ideas that were just shared in the chat from last night's social. So Brenda said for incorporating the theme this month, she's writing take the next steps with at the top of each box. And then Jamie shared that they started dividing each space into 4 boxes and then put 4 simple things that she could do for each section. So something kind of like a bingo board, but it's less than one thing a day. So it's pretty low pressure. And the little envelope design is kind of set up that way as well. There's like an overall sort of intention and then like 3 ways to support that intention there. At her monthly setup, Karen, she did like the first one this month, I think. She actually shared some of her pages from her journal from last year and placed them alongside her journal this year. And as I mentioned before, this March will be my 4th year as a Silk and Sonder subscriber. So I decided to look back through some of my old journals. Now, March of 2020 is when I started. But March of 2021 is really when I hit my groove with the journals. It's when I started going to socials. And I had already decided to do various quotes for my intentions this month before I went back and looked at my old pages. And I think it's so cool that I chose to do the same thing with my intention for March 3 years ago. I used quotes. The quotes are different and the intentions have changed, but that's life. It's so cool to look back and be able to understand exactly where I was in that moment and see the momentum that has really carried me through to now. So again, I'll cycle through all of these examples while you work on your own intentions for the month. And once you're done setting up your intentions, please feel free to share in the chat what came up for you, what your goals are, how you're tackling this, share your inspirations with others, and then we'll see you in a few minutes. Okay, with our intention set, we're now going to be moving into our trackers for March. These are some of my favorite pages in the journal, especially when I was first getting started with Silk and Sonder. Some months I only focused on these pages and the journal prompts, and I still got so much from my journal every time. So tonight we're going to start with our mood tracker. So go ahead and flip over to page 10 in your journal. Utilizing a mood tracker can allow us to understand trends and how we feel so we can take notice and begin making shifts. And when combined with other trackers and journaling, our mood tracker can also help us notice habits or external forces that may be having a positive or negative impact on our emotional health. And from there, we can hopefully make changes to focus on the things that bring about more positive days. Now, this month we have the wheel design, but next month it will be hexagons. The two patterns alternate, and the months with fewer days, like February and April, have the hexagons, while the months with more days, like January and March, have the wheel. We have some people who are pretty committed to team wheel or team hexagon, and while we love passion on both sides, either one can work as a way to track in your journal. So for this evening, we're going to be sharing this feelings wheel. This is a great resource on identifying new moods you may want to track looking at that wheel. We do have 6 main categories, which are fear, anger, sadness, surprise, joy, and love. And I'll bring this back in a little bit, but first let's talk about how to set up your tracker traditionally. So you can pick one emotion from each of the feelings charts or focus on 1 to 2 areas of feelings chart to really dive deep into one or different emotion families. You can choose to focus in on momentum with that month's theme or select emotions that sort of resonate to that theme for you. And then to fill in the tracker, you can fill in every emotion that came up that day, which is how I used my tracker in the beginning, or just fill in whatever emotion was the strongest. You can use stickers, different colors, doodles, or a single pen to create your key and track. And remember, this is all about what works for you. So our members use this page in a variety of ways, and the canvas is yours to fill. So take these tips and tricks and run with them, or choose to do something completely different. So for example, I always share that I started using my mood tracker to focus on my anxiety levels about 3 years ago. And it was really, really beneficial for me to notice what was working, what wasn't, and celebrate how far I've come. The words I used to track when I was tracking anxiety were none, low, scattered, moderate, high, and panic. And last year, I noticed my anxiety becoming less frequent, and I was better able to identify moods and emotions that were previously just sort of shrouded in various levels of panic. So I started trying some new things with this page. A few months ago, I used it as a place for like 1 word or phrase each day for that day. So for example, my phrase today might be Sonder Social. And it was a fun way to make like a quick reflection and look through all I'd experienced at the end of the month. Last month, I realized how that low energy was my main complaint. So I decided to track that. My categories were none, low, okay, focused, productive, and high. And my hope was to combine this area with other parts of the journal to like see how things like weather and sleep and nutrition might have been impacting those energy levels. And it worked. One thing that I've already learned by using this in conjunction with the sleep tracker on page 12 is that a consistent bedtime is often more important for me and my energy levels than the actual amount or quality of sleep that I get. And I would have never guessed that. I also realized that I will rarely say that my energy is high. Like I never actually feel like it's high. So I'm giving myself some other options this month. I often said my energy was okay. So I'm getting more specific about what okay is. Like, is it morning only? Is it in the evening? Is it feeling pretty good all day? And I added an extra circle to make sure I had enough options. I also did a pretty bad job tracking the weather, so I'm gonna try like adding it in this section instead of where I was putting it before. I'm really curious to see what else I'll learn this month. So here are some other ways that you can repurpose your mood tracker. I like this good for me one where somebody's like listing out different things that are good for them and just kind of like tracking along the way. This book tracker is also super fun. I am always really impressed by those of you that can read multiple books at once. That's amazing to me. And then I also always really like this example where they just decided to track like the 6 main categories of emotions, and then they've listed out some different emotions for each of those categories in the center of the wheel there. And then we also have another example of some different emotions here. I really like the one that says crabby. That resonates with me for sure on some days. And then there's a strength tracker and another reading tracker. It looks like they might be tracking either pages or minutes. So lots of ideas here. I will be sure to cycle back through all of these. So feel free to use this feelings wheel here as a starting point. And I'll cycle through all of these as you work on your own pages. And once you set up your mood tracker, we'd love to hear how you're tackling this page in the chat and how you're setting that up. And then we'll come back together in a few minutes. Okay, thank you for taking time to complete your mood tracker. Like I mentioned before, these trackers were some of my favorite pages in the journal when I started. One quick call out, I did want to mention that LD shared that they have a hard time naming emotions sometimes, so they're using weather terms like sunny, warm, partly cloudy, drizzly, windy, mostly cloudy to describe their moods and emotions. And I absolutely love that. I'm gonna have to try that for sure. That's a new one that I hadn't heard before. So thank you so much for sharing. So we're now going to move into our next page, which is our habit tracker. So building habits can help us start, using the habit tracker can help us start new habits, stop doing habits that don't serve us, and continue habits that bring value. So I think, there we go. Sorry, y'all, these are a little out of order. So here are some tips and tricks to consider for your habit tracker. You can use the theme of momentum as you're focusing in making selections this month. And you can focus on one area or theme like getting better sleep, being more grounded, staying calm and present. If you tracked habits last month that worked good for you, you can choose to continue them and build that momentum, if you will, into this next month. You can also find inspiration from your intentions that we set up earlier. And remember, you don't have to fill in every line of the wheel. You can just pick a few and leave the rest. Try to find that balance between habits you know you can do and the ones that are just going to be maybe a little trickier to commit to. So here are a few ways that folks have set up their habit tracker. So you can do like a super fun, pretty mandala like kind of design here and like color in each little block as you do it. If that will build momentum for you, if that will like help you get those things done and motivate you, I say great, go for it. If you're like me and having to have all of those little colors and things available to you every time that you fill something out makes it harder, then you can be more like the person over on the right and just try filling in, with like a single pen, like different like metrics or symbols or things like that, whatever works for you. And keep in mind that this is a habit tracker, not a habit to-do list, but a tracker. So if you can check off every space, that's awesome, but it's also okay if you don't. Seeing what works and what doesn't work for us or what we're struggling with can be just as insightful and important as actually doing the habit. It's just another handy tool within this journal, right? And here you can see my February tracker and my March tracker. And when looking at February, you can see lots of little dashes, which means I didn't do the habit that day. And I'm not surprised by that. This time of year with the cold and the weather and all the lack of sunlight, it's really hard for me, and reflecting on last month helped me make better selections of what to track this month. For example, my tech Sabbath has actually gone really well, and it's led to an overall decrease in my social media usage. So I feel good about moving that habit off of my wheel this month and replacing it with a reminder to spend more time in my journal each day. I struggled with tracking physical care because I couldn't remember what I agreed counted as physical care when I set the habit. So this time I've given myself a list on the page. And I'm also traveling a lot this month, so I'm gonna have to leave out the whole don't eat out because I'm gonna have to. So instead, I'm gonna be making sure that I get my veggies in. And now that my sleep routine has been established and I'm realizing that lights out time is one of the best things I can do for myself there, I'm focusing in on that single habit this month instead of the entire routine. And I'm carrying over water, tidy, and medications from last month because those are still important and serving me. So I do my best when I make things simple and just use that little symbol to track a habit. So I'm continuing to do that this month. And in addition to this monthly habit tracker, there are also smaller habit trackers in the weekly section of the journal. So there is flexibility and room to grow throughout the month. That's probably where I'm going to be moving that tech Sabbath to now that I don't need that reminder that's coming up every week. There's also a mind body health plan and other things in the weekly sections that you may want to incorporate as a part of the monthly habits. In the past, I've incorporated both of those things into the monthly section of my journal as a way to kind of switch things up a little while still feeling like I was building that consistency. So if you're not sure if something should be a monthly habit or a weekly habit, I usually recommend thinking of a monthly habit as something you want to track each day, and a weekly habit is something you want to track just a few days or only focus on for that specific week. But I had that tech Sabbath habit, which was only once a week on my wheel before, and that was okay because I just sort of needed to see that it was coming through the week. That really helped me to like establish that as a new habit. But now that I feel like it's established, I am going to move it over to that weekly section. So again, it's always just about figuring out what works for you, right? So for some inspiration, here are some more examples of some habit trackers and some ideas. I've got this slide here and then another slide here. So I'll be sure to hop through all of these as you're filling out your habit tracker. As always, feel free to tell us in the chat what you're deciding to do, how you're setting this up. And I'll move back through all of these and put on some music so you can get your own wheel started. Thanks for completing your habit tracker. It's always cool to see what people are tracking and notice that many of us are being curious about the same habits. We love seeing everyone's reflections, intentions, and tracker setup for March. I hope to see some updates from all of you in Sonder Club later this month as we continue to embrace this theme of momentum together. But believe it or not, that concludes our time together this evening. These events always seem to go by so fast. And speaking of events, we have a really neat special event coming up in a few weeks. It's an Enneagram exploration event with Meha and Beth Cooper, who's an Enneagram expert. It is a special event, so there is a $10 fee to attend, but it sounds really cool. And I'm looking forward to learning more about the Enneagram from someone like Beth. I'll pop in the link to that in the chat just in case you are curious about looking more into it. But we would love to see your journals and examples in Sonder Club if you feel comfortable sharing. We're still doing the Refer a Friend program. You get $10 off, they get $10 off, and then you can come to socials together. If you're not already an annual subscriber and you're able to upgrade, maybe consider that. It can save you quite a bit of money throughout the year. And then as always, please fill out the feedback survey, either the one that you get in your email or the one that is there on the screen right now and that Katie is graciously popping into the chat for us there. All of the feedback gets looked at and changes are directly made because of that. Here are my playlists, both the one I use this evening and the master playlist where all of my songs eventually get dumped. I'll be sure to pop that into the chat for you as well. But again, thank you all for joining us this evening. We had so much fun and we're feeling super excited about this invitation to really dive into momentum together this month. And I hope you feel the same way. Until next time, be good to each other. And Katie and I will see you all in Sonder Club.
Into the unknown, into the unknown, into the unknown. I can hear you, but I won't. Some look for trouble, while others don't. There's 1,000 reasons I should go about my day and ignore your whispers, which I wish would go away. You're not a voice, you're just a ringing in my ear. And if I heard you, which I don't, I'm spoken for, I fear. Everyone I've ever loved is here within these walls. I'm sorry, secret siren, but I'm blocking out your calls. I've had my adventure, I don't need something new. I'm afraid of what I'm risking if I follow you into the unknown. Into the unknown. Into the What do you want? 'Cause you've been keeping me awake. Are you here to distract me so I make a big mistake? Or are you someone